The soil remembers. I inherited the farm in April, the kind of April that couldn't decide whether to freeze you or drown you. My uncle, Nathaniel Hurst, died suddenly. No funeral, no obituary, just a message delivered by a man in a gray suit who refused to step out of his car. He handed me an envelope. Inside was the deed, and a note written in my uncle's shaky hand. Don't dig too deep. It remembers. That should have been enough to walk away, but I didn't. I didn't have much else. I arrived at the farm the next day. Acres of land, a crooked old house, a barn with one door half torn off and hanging like a snapped jaw. The sky overhead was low and heavy, like it was watching. I hadn't been back since I was a kid, not since my father disappeared during a harvest, just vanished. No body, no signs. Uncle Nate never talked about it. No one did. But the fields, they were alive. Rows of corn stood too tall for spring, lush, thick, swing rhythmically, almost like they breathed. There was no equipment, no irrigation, no sign of recent labor. And yet, the land thrived. I moved into the house unsure why, maybe because I wanted answers, maybe because I had nowhere else. The first night, I heard footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate. I froze in bed, heart pounding. The house was one story. There shouldn't have been anything above. When I checked the crawl space the next day, it was emptied, except for footprints in the dust. Bare. Long. Wrong. Then came the noises from the fields. Low hums like whispers filter through earth. The corn shifted when the wind didn't. Once I saw the stalks part, like something huge was moving between them. Too fast. Too smooth. Every night, I dreamed of dirt swallowing me whole. On the fourth morning, I found a finger poking out of the field. Human. Pale. Fresh. I ran to the sheriff in the nearby town. He didn't even flinch when I told him. He instead said, "You'll want to leave that alone. This land has old roots." What does that mean? He just shook his head and closed the door on me. Back at the house, I checked the basement. Uncle Nate never let me down there as a kid. Now I know why. I found notebooks. Dozens of them dated back 50 years. He'd been writing about the farm, every planting season, every animal death, every oddity. The entries grew darker over time. The soil drinks more every year. Crops come too early again. No rain, no sun, still they grow. I fed it a deer today. It grew silent, pleased. It's hungry again. And finally, it took your father. I dropped the book. I ran outside. The wind had stopped. The air was too still. The cornfields pulsed. Actually pulsed like veins beneath skin. I stepped toward them and the humming started again. A language I didn't know, but I felt deep in my teeth. I wanted to burn it all, but I didn't. Instead, I dug. I went to the northern field and started with a shovel. The earth was soft, eager. I dug for hours. At about 3 feet, I found bones, dozens of them, small, animal maybe. But then, a ring. My father's, still on a blackened finger. Then came the voice. From beneath the soil, it wasn't words. It was emotion, hunger, memory, need. Something was down there, something old, and it remembered me. The ground shifted. I dropped the shovel and ran, but the barn door slammed shut on its own as I passed. The soil beneath my feet vibrated, cracking. Roots, thick and wet, burst through the soil, wrapping around my legs, pulling me to the ground. I screamed. Then it stopped. Everything was still. I crawled away and didn't sleep that night. I sat with Nate's notebooks, trying to make sense of it. One line stood out. It came before us. We just feed it now. In the morning, I tried to leave. My truck wouldn't start. The road was gone. Just more fields. Endless rows of corn that hadn't been there the day before. I was trapped. The next week blurred. I barely ate, barely drank. The house groaned every night. Something paced the roof. The windows began to crack from the inside. And the fields began to whisper my name. One night, I saw him, my father, walking out from the corn, skin like dried paper, mouth full of soil, eyes gone. But he pointed at the barn, and then he vanished. I followed. Inside the barn, under the floorboards, I found the pit. A black hole in the earth, wider than any well. The air around it buzzed with heat and rot. It breathed. I dropped a rock in. No sound. I dropped a lantern. Still nothing. Then something rose from it. Not a figure. A shape. A presence. Eyes bloomed across the ceiling like mold. Mouths opened in the wood. The walls pulsed. I felt it inside me, tugging at memory, at blood, at every cell I had. It showed me what it was. Not a god, not a demon, just something old. Hungry. Buried long before people came. The first settlers that had animals, then people, and then themselves. Nate, it had kept it asleep. My father refused. It took him. Now it's my turn. I lit the barn on fire that night. The flames roared, and the field screamed, actually screamed, like 1,000 voices in agony. The roots thrashed through the soil like serpents. The corn withered in seconds. The pit boiled. I fled. I ran through the fields, the corn grabbing at me like hands. I made it to the house and barricaded the door. The fire spread, smoke filled the air. The ground buckled. And then it stopped. Morning came. The fields were black. Dead. The barn. I left that day. On foot. No one stopped me. The road had returned.
2 weeks later. I heard a report on the radio. A seasonal crop explosion in rural Missouri, cornfields back in full bloom overnight, local officials baffled.